stand up and say to the rest of the world, I was wrong and we do need your help. When I was on active duty in the Navy in 1990, we put close to 500,000 troops on the ground, and only half of them were American troops. We got the rest of the world to actually help us, and in fact, the cost of that war...
But hasn't the rest of the world said, we know you're wrong, that's why we're not there?
Right, because nobody stood up and said what we've done in the last 3.5 years is actually insult them and tell them we don't want their help.
So what makes you think under those conditions, given the insults that you refer to where countries feel offended by the United States and where we're unpopular and where they're saying we told you so, what makes you think that France or Germany is, or Italy or anyone else is going to send any significant number of troops to Iraq today?
Well, Aaron, I don't think they will. I don't think they will, and I think as the President said in his State of the Union, which disturbed me greatly, that this is the next administration's problem. I don't think that we're going to see a whole lot of change in the White House, although even the White House now says that stay the course is not a real strategy. And since we're not willing, since we don't have the political will or the leadership to actually put the troops on the ground that we need to go win this thing, then I support John Murtha's plan for redeployment. Because frankly, when I was in the military, all we asked for was that...
And that plan is to redeploy to really the borders, the perimeter?
The borders and up in the Kurdish parts of Iraq is part of it.
And let the Iraqis sort it out.
Well, you know what? As the congressman says, ultimately it is their country, and they're going to have to figure this out on their own. But right now, we're not helping them do that. We're not seen as liberators. We're seen as invaders at this point, and that's a tragic thing. But ultimately, I'm not willing to continue sending American sons and daughters over there to die for what is manifestly a failed policy.
All right.
Well, I don't think that's what the Murtha plan says. It's not to date. It's a phased withdrawal over a period of time. It's not about being out by midnight tonight. And it's essentially what you were just talking about in terms of General Casey talking about a timeline for getting out of Iraq.
But Murtha's not a 2-year timeline.
Big difference between what General Gates said and what Murtha is proposing. I'm just trying to really get what you're
saying. That we're talking about being out of Iraq by the end of the day today, and that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking
that's
about
the Murtha plan.
I'm talking about he's not saying that we'd be out of there by the end
today. And you have even said I want out. Murtha now. Murtha now. I mean, you've said that.
No, I think the answer to your question, the answer to the first part is, can this president? Yes, I think he could. Will he? No, I don't think he will. Can any president? Absolutely, and we've seen it at least twice in the last 100 years in this country. In 1941, when we were attacked at Pearl Harbor, our military was in maybe 43rd, I believe, in terms of its size worldwide. 5 years later, not only was it the largest in the world, it was as large as all the others could put together. And the reason was we had a president who stood up and said, you know what, everybody's going to have to sacrifice. We're going to have a draft, and everybody's going to go serve. If you're not serving, you're going to have to go work. You're going to have to pay taxes to pay for this buildup. You're going to have to ration gasoline. We're going to have curfews, and we're going to have all these other things.
Is that politically possible today, or is that political suicide?
No, I think it's politically possible. John F. Kennedy did it again with the Apollo program in 1961, and he was, of course, famous for having said, ask not what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country. I think we need a whole new...
pigs.
I think we need a whole new paradigm in this country where we do find people who are leaders on issues and will stand up and take political...
Can they get elected?
Yeah, I believe they can. I believe that you can get elected by being honest with the American people. And quite frankly, I'll salute the congressman for standing up on the issue that he believes in and being strong there. But I believe that you can get elected. And I believe that we do ourselves a disservice when we underestimate the American people, because the American people will do what we ask them to do.
Votes, what vote would that be?
Well, I'm not sure I can narrow it down to one. I think I would have had him vote different, vote for the Violence Against Women Act and vote for aid to Katrina victims and vote for the Voting Rights Act.
Instead of voting against all those?
All three.
All right.
I'm not going to make a voluntary term limit pledge myself, because I don't want to find myself in the same situation of having to go back on what I promised people. What I will say is that I will stay there as long as, first of all, as long as the people keep electing me, but more importantly, as long as I feel like I'm making a difference, because that's what my campaign is all about, is making a difference and making people's lives better. So I will stay there as long as that I believe that I'm making a difference and I'm effective there, because there are a lot of ways I can make a difference that don't include me being in Congress.
All right, what about the congressman's breach of his pledge?
Well, I think that there's an issue there insofar as back in 1998 in a 5-way primary, I think it had a real effect on the fact that he won that primary, and I imagine that there are people that are still upset about that. That, frankly, is yes, and that's frankly between him and them, and I guess that's a question that he has to answer in terms of his credibility. Well, thank you very much. I think that if You know, Einstein had a definition of insanity. He said doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. The bottom line is if we want a government that's not based on politics, we have to stop electing politicians. I'm not a politician. I've never run for office before in my life. I've got 10 years of service to the Navy and the Marine Corps. Shoot, I'm a kidney donor. I did that because I thought it would make a difference in someone's life. I am not going to Washington, D.C. to represent the Democratic Party. I'm going to represent the people of Congressional District 6, which means Democrats, Republicans, unaffiliated, and the 50% that don't even participate. I believe in America. I have a much stronger faith in our system than my opponents apparently do, because I believe that when we go out and give the people what they want and give them leadership and show them how we're going to get there, they will follow and they will do that for us. Folks, when I was in the military, the only thing we ever asked for, we were willing to make the sacrifice, the ultimate sacrifice at any time. And all we ever asked was that our sacrifice means something and that our country take care of us when we got back, or take care of our families if we didn't come back. I'm going to go make sure that sacrifice does mean something, and not just the folks in Iraq. I'm talking about the sacrifice of people who get up in the morning and go to work to put food on their family's table and want to send their kids to college and give them a better life than what they had. I'm going to make sure that sacrifice means something, and that's why you should vote for me. Thank you.